Hi, so today we are talking about plants, but specifically we're talking about seeds and how seeds start to grow. And the word we use for a seed starting to grow is germinate. Germinate means growing. How does it break out of its shell and start to grow into a plant? Okay, so how does a seed start? Germinate means for the seed to start growing. Okay, so one of the activities I gave you this week is to plant some seeds in a plastic bag. And the reason why we're putting them in a plastic bag is so we can see it happen, okay? Normally, I would just take a seed and put it in the dirt. See, here's the soil. I poked a hole in the soil and I took two of these sunflower seeds, and I put it in the dirt. So what do I need to add to this to start the seed germinating? We need to send the seed a signal. And we learned earlier that one signal is it needs some water, right? I need to give it some water. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it outside in the sunlight or on my windowsill. So the sunlight and the water are the signals, and they knock on the door and they say, hey seed, it's time to wake up and grow. It's time to germinate, okay? So we're going to put it in a plastic bag as an experiment so we can watch the seed germinate, okay? So what I did is I gave you, or if you have it at home, if you picked it up, I gave it to you, but you have these at home. It's just a Ziploc bag that you keep your sandwiches in or you keep snacks in, right? So what you're going to do is open the bag and you're going to put some seeds in. But before you put the seeds in, you need to take a piece of a paper towel. You know, you could rip a paper towel. What I want you to do is rip it in half, and I want you to fold it several times, okay? And then I have here some water in a dish, and I'm just gonna dip it in there and I'm gonna squeeze it out. Because too much water, we don't want the seed sitting in water. If the seed sits in water, it's not going to grow because it's going to drown in the water. It needs water, but it can't be submerged in the water like underwater because it's not an underwater plant. So I made my paper towel small and wet, and I'm going to put it into the Ziploc bag like this. So it's wet enough so that it'll offer some water to the seed. And then I'm going to take, you could use sunflower seeds, you can use any beans in the house that you have, okay? So I'm gonna throw 2 sunflower seeds in this. I'm going to put it down there at the bottom where it can be wet and where I can see it, okay? And I'm gonna make sure it's wet, but I'm gonna make sure it's not sitting in the water. And then as it's hanging there in the sun, I'm gonna watch it and see if it needs any more water, if I think it gets too dry, okay? So I'm gonna seal the top of this, but not all the way. I'm going to leave it a little bit open because we have learned that it does need air. So some of the things the seed needs to germinate to start, it needs water, it needs sunlight, it needs air, okay? So that's that one. Now these are the beans, okay? I've got red beans and white beans. So I'm going to take 2 of my white beans, right? And I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to do 3 of them. You can do 1 or 2, whatever you want to do. However you want to do it. I'm going to I ripped a piece of paper towel. I'm dipping it in the water. I don't want it to be too, so I'm going to squeeze it out a little bit. Then I'm going to place that into I'm going to open it up. You can do this. I don't think your grown-up should do this. You can do all of this. This is really good practice for strengthening your hands to be able to do things, to be able to open and close bags, to be able to fold and cut and tear, okay? So I did that. I wrote white bean, and I put my paper towel in, and I'm throwing 2 white beans in there. They're hard to see because it's white on white. But when we hang it up and we put it in the sun, hopefully it will germinate. I'm not going to seal it all the way. I'm only going to seal it that. I'm going to leave that much open. Okay, we did that one. The last one is my red beans. I have red beans. We eat beans a lot in this house. We eat red beans and rice, so we eat white beans and macaroni, so I happen to have beans around. They have to be dried beans, not canned beans, okay? You could also use sunflower seeds. If you eat sunflower seeds, you can put a sunflower seed in there, okay? So this is my 3rd type of bean. It's a red bean. Here I tore off half of a paper towel. I'm dipping it in the water. I don't want it to be too wet, like I said, but I want it to be wet enough. I don't want it to be dripping all over. So I'm putting that in the bottom, And then I'm going to add my 2 beans in there, okay? So I want the beans to be up against the paper towel, right? So that it can be wet enough. But I'm gonna put it on this side so you can see that it says red bean, okay? So here we go. I want it to be on the wet paper towel, but not laying in the water, right? So as you hang it and it gets sun, if you think it needs more water, you could pour some more water in, okay? So now I'm going to seal it, but not all the way. I'm gonna leave it open a little bit so that I could get some air in there. We need to get air in there a little bit. So I have red beans, I have white beans, and I have sunflower seeds, okay? I'm going to watch the seed pod break open because now I'm going to give it signals, right? Knock, 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 here's the water. Knock, 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 here's the sun coming from the window. Knock, 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 here's the air. So they're going to get ready to grow because they've gotten all my signals, okay? We're going to watch this and come back and see. Right now, observe what it looks like. It just looks like a seed, but we know a seed, right? We know what a seed looks like. It could look like many things. It could be a bean. A bean is also a seed, right? We also learn from reading that story that a fruit is a suitcase for a seed, right? Or it gets traveled around, right? It gets traveled around in the fruit, right? And we know that seeds can be very big, like a pit, or they could be really tiny, like a seed on top of a strawberry, okay? So when you're eating, why don't you notice to see if your foods have seeds? If a food has a seed, it means it's a fruit, right? Okay, so enjoy this experiment and we'll get back to you. I'm gonna hang it in my window and hopefully that will get lots of sun, okay? Hey, happy Monday. Have a great day.